All right, today we're going to look at lesson 6.5, more two-step equations. So similar to what we did before with two-step equations, basically the idea that all you have to do is two steps and then you are done with the problem, and then you are, find the solution. Remember when we defined finding the solution, which is just finding out what the variable means. So by the end, your answer should be x equals something or y equals something, whatever the variable happens to be. So before we kind of get started on how to solve these, I want to show you how they are different than the equations that we were just doing. So I'm going to show you a little example that you don't have to write down, just kind of watch. So check it out. So here's our first problem, 3x plus 5. It's not an equation, that's just an expression, right? 3x plus 5. And second one, which is similar, 3 parentheses x plus 5. Now, how are these different? Well, in the first one, you have 3 times x, and then you add 5. In the second one, you have to do x plus 5, and then multiply by 3. So to show you this, let's just pretend that x equals 2. All right, so instead of x, I'm going to put the number 2 in here. All right, so on the first problem, what you would do is you do 3 times 2, which is 6, and then you'd add 5, and you'd get 11. So what did I do? I said, first thing I did was I multiplied, and then the second thing I did was I added. Okay? So first problem, I multiply first, and then I add. Order of operations. The second problem, you still go by order of operations, but remember we have the parentheses, so that goes first. So this is going to be adding first, which is 7, and then 3 times 7, which is 21. So on this problem, the first thing we did was add, and then we multiplied. Okay, so why am I showing you this? Why is this important? Well, when you do a problem that has what we did in lesson 6.4 were problems like number 1, where I might say, for example, I'll just make up another example, 3x plus 5 is equal to, I don't know, let's say 9, right? So instead of multiplying and dividing, or multiplying then adding, remember we have to go in reverse order, right? We would subtract and then divide in order to undo it. So it kind of goes in this order, here to here, here to here, to undo it. Well, on these problems, like number 2, what you would do first then is you would do exactly the opposite of what you did, right? So instead of adding then multiplying, you have to do the opposite order, which would be to divide and then subtract. So going from this way to this way, and now instead we're going division to subtraction to undo what you're trying to do there. Okay, remember the idea is for any of these equations, as long as you are, and if you know what's going on, then you can undo it, right? So using our socks and shoes example, right? You put on your socks, then your shoes. Then when you take it off, you do your shoes, then your socks. So if you kind of know the order you put them on, then it's easy to know the order to take them off, all right? So if this is a little bit confusing, that's okay. Let me show you how this will work on some problems. Let's do a problem here together. Letter A. Okay, let's write this down. 5 parentheses n minus 2 is equal to 30. Okay, so let's go through all of our steps. Okay, let's go through all of our steps. First step, draw our wall, right? We learned that in the last one. Let's draw our wall so we know there's a left side and a right side, and we know the variable, identify the variable, which is n right there. So that's what we want to get by itself. So on other problems, what we do first is we would normally say, oh, minus 2, let's add 2. But that's not what's going on, right? We want to do the last thing first, or we want to get rid of that first thing. Another way to think of it is, remember the variable is by itself and it wants to get rid of the farthest thing away. So the 5 is actually farther away. So I'm not going to do plus 2. Instead, this is 5 times. So I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides. And sometimes people, well, how do I know, Mr. Lin? How do I know I'm supposed to do that? The parentheses, right? The parentheses make this a different problem. Okay, so we know that this will cancel out here. And all I'm left with is n minus 2 equals 30 divided by 5, which is 6. And now I have a little simple one-step problem. Okay, so the next step I know is to add 2 on both sides. And my final answer should be n is equal to 8. So now let's go ahead and check it. I'm sorry, let me write that down here. So then we add 2 to both sides. Let's go ahead and do our check work. Let's do it on the side here. So 5 times, again, I think my answer is 8 minus 2 should equal 30. Well, 8 minus 2 is equal to 6. 5 times 6 is equal to 30. That checks out, so I know that this is my final answer. Okay, you guys see that? So again, what did I do? Instead of adding or subtracting first, I'm going to multiply or divide first. Let's try another one here. 3 parentheses b minus 6 close parentheses is equal to 12. All right, so what do we do here? Let's check it. Look, again, go through all of our steps. Okay, step 1 was always draw our wall and identify the variable. Okay, draw the wall, there's our variable, b. Okay, so that's what we want by itself. Again, we need to get rid of the minus 6, and we got to get rid of the times 3. So which one do we get rid of first? Well, that 3 is on the outside of the parentheses, so we're going to deal with that one first. Here we go. First step I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. So that can cancel out. This will leave me with b minus 6 is equal to 4. Last step, I see that I have a minus 6, so I'm going to add 6 instead. And that leaves me with b is equal to 10. Let's check it. 3 times 10 minus 6 should equal 12. Well, 10 minus 6 is 4. 3 times 4 is equal to 12. So that checks out, and I'm good to go. All right, let's keep trying. So again, once you kind of can see the hang of it, again, how are these different from 6.4? Again, because of the parentheses. The parentheses change a lot. They change what step you do first, which means they change what step you do last. And so that's really important that we understand what's going on with these and how these are different than the problems that we did in lesson 6.4. So kind of going back to our examples, right? Now you can kind of clearly see, oh, problem 2 is different than problem 1. Those parentheses really do make a difference. So I need to make sure I do the problems differently. Okay. Here's another one. You might see something like this. D plus 5 over 4, okay, is equal to let's say a negative 7. Okay, so there's no parentheses here, but what would you do? Let's think. Well, this is D plus 5, so I know that. D is on the left side of my wall. This is divided, this is a fraction, 1/4. You can think of it that way, but really it's dividing by 4. Right? So the first thing I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to do the opposite of dividing by 4. I'm going to multiply by 4 on both sides, right? Times 4 over 1. Because what's that going to do, right? Well, that cancels our 4's here. And what am I left with? I'm left with just D plus 5 is equal to a negative 28. And then let's just take it home from there, right? D minus 5, or plus 5. So I need to subtract 5 to get rid of the 5. Okay. And what am I left with? Well, that means I got D left here, right? Those cancel out. Negative 28 and negative 5 is not negative 23, but rather negative 33. Let's check it and make sure. Negative 33 plus 5 divided by 4 should equal negative 7. Well, negative 33 plus 5 is negative 28 over 4, which is equal to negative 7. Yep, that checks out. And I'm good to go.